Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to the show on Podomatic, also the show is on iTunes, but the site on Podomatic is dbcoach.podomatic.com. And also, if you go to blogtalkradio.com/CoachDeb, you will find an archive of shows going back over 7 years. So that's another place that you can stop by and listen in. Also, womenentrepreneursecrets.com is the blog for the show, so you'll find bios of show guests there as well, and different links and posts of interest to women entrepreneurs. So make sure you stop by there, and also we accept posts. If you have some interesting articles or news to share, book launches, different things like that, that's also a good place to come to, and you can contact us and see if your content would be a fit for the blog. Also, my site is deborahbailey.com, and you can find out more about me and my books and, some other sites and blogs that I have going on, but that's the main one you can come to check it out. So I hope that you do. Okay, and I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Marilyn L. Weber is President and CEO of Deaf Interpreter Services, a certified sign language interpreter. She has an adult daughter who is deaf. Marilyn has been working for more than 25 years promoting accessible communication and advocating for the rights of the deaf community. She has interpreted in hundreds of professional situations and conducts deaf awareness workshops, cultural diversity training, and ADA compliance consulting. Marilyn has over 2,900 hours of related professional training. She has received several awards from various organizations recognizing her work and dedication to the deaf community. So welcome, Marilyn. Really glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here.
This is really, a topic I can honestly say know absolutely nothing about. And, I was just so interested when we heard from you and your staff, because we really wanted to find out more about your work. And also, as we talked a little bit before, there are a lot of people who really want to create businesses to reach out and to help and to advocate, and they may not really know how to go about it, what they should do, and, how to really make it something they can sustain and grow. So, I think that you have a lot of good advice, experience to share. But, before we get started on that, could you just, share your journey and how you got started in doing this and building this business?
Sure. Well, it wasn't planned, as a lot of times businesses kind of grow out of necessity and it's not a plan. My background was medical pharmacy, and I worked in a hospital. Mm-hmm. Our first daughter was born deaf, and once we moved to Texas, we moved from California and found out she was deaf. That in itself was a journey. But once we determined that, yes, she is profoundly deaf, my whole focus was finding the right schooling and a program to get her into. And so we searched all over, and my husband was promoted, and we moved here to San Antonio from California for his promotion, but it was all contingent upon finding the proper schooling for her. And once we had determined that, this is the path we're on, this is what we're going to do, got her into a program here, and I was working at the hospital. And as she was growing, 3, 4, initially I had her teacher get together a class every Friday afternoon to teach the parents sign language so we could kind of grow with our children. And as she approached about 6 years old, I realized I'm going to need something more than just a little here and there to grow with her. I wanted to always be involved in her life. So I found at the time there was a pilot program in Austin, interpreter training program. My focus and goal was never, ever to become an interpreter, but I wanted to keep up with her and her world and to understand. So I changed, and I worked at the hospital then through the night and went to school during the day. I went through that program. I'm not sure what motivated me, but I continued on to go and take the test and pass that in the state board. And I got certified as a sign language interpreter, still with no intention of ever working as an interpreter, just to be involved in her life. And I was going to the conferences and just kind of everything that needed to be. And along the way, I started getting pulled into, interpreting for the hospital for this or that. And like, I felt it was conflict of interest. But I want to back up just a little bit. In the meantime, there was a program started here in San Antonio, an interpreter training program. And I had been contacted to come and sit on a panel of parents with deaf children. And so I had done that. And as we were discussing things, one young man in the audience had got up, a deaf gentleman, and was asking, questions about the services and things here, or what do we see as a need. And I elaborated on what I thought the need would be for not only San Antonio, but across the country, and how things were still lacking and so much was still left to be done and needed for services, for individuals who are deaf. And as I was telling him, we need to change this and this and this and this. And he says, then why don't you do it? And I thought for a minute, I'm like, wow. And I just stared at him for a bit, and I said, you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. And still at that time, I'm at the hospital working, but that was a pivotal moment in my life, so I kind of dwelled on that. And I said, if there needs to be change, then you need to be the change. And my husband and I started talking about this a little more and more, and gradually I started being he. Actually, I had some dental work done and whatnot one time, and I was out cold. He had accepted an interpreting job for me up about an hour away at one of the universities. And I'm thinking, when I wake up, he told me, he went down and he signed on the paper. I said, you can't be doing that. But that kind of got my foot in the door with interpreting, because it was during the time that I'd taken time off from the hospital to have our last child, our youngest child, in 93. And he says, you're here, you need to do this. We discussed it. And he said, now's your chance. You decide. You want to go back to the hospital? You want to go into interpreting? And so I kind of leap of faith and did that, and it started rolling. And as I'm interpreting then for others, I got thinking, there has to be more here. It's not enough. There needs to be more change. And I kept dwelling on what Brian Barwise had said to me that day in that meeting. And so we decided, you know what, we're gonna do this. And so funny, our youngest daughter used to come in the middle of the night then and crawl in bed with us. She'd had a bad dream or whatever, wanted to crawl in bed with us. And we would let her. It seemed like it never failed. 2 a.m, one of us would have this great idea for the business we were going to start. And we're like, honey, grab a pencil, meet me in the living room on the couch. Or we'd just be in the bedroom talking about this and this and what needs to be done. And one time she says, can you please stop? Can you guys go somewhere else? Don't you realize this is nighttime? You're supposed to sleep? And I said, well, honey, then go to your own room. But I can't tell you how many times we had that 2 a.m. board meeting. But anyway, we had went ahead and decided, there's too much that needs to be done here. And yes, we can do it. We need to be the change. And, he was working, for the state up in Austin at the time. So we talked about it, and he was I would bounce my ideas off of him, and he would come up with other suggestions. And so anyway, started it, and it went. And I started with just providing sign language interpreting and oral interpreting and, deaf-blind interpreting and things, interpreting services here in the San Antonio area. Then we kind of branched out. I branched out into Texas, and then in 2000, we started in 93. I started in 93, and we started and branched out in 2000 to the whole country, the U.S., and incorporated and just took it off from there. But it wasn't easy, and, you run into all kinds of roadblocks and obstacles along the way, but, you got to follow your heart and your passion. If you're on the right track, you're going to there's going to be bumps in the road along the way, and, if everyone gets knocked down, but it's how you get back up and go for it again. But that's basically been my path in this and our philosophy. And now we provide video remote interpreting. We have 3 video studios. We do video production and audio files. We've kind of branched out to a lot of areas, but we've made a huge difference to the deaf community and kind of leveling that playing field. And we advocate for their rights and just, if you're doing it, in my mind, if you're doing it for the right reasons, everything will fall into place.
Wow. That's some story.
Yes. and there's a lot more to it that's very interesting, but I didn't want to get off track a little bit. But
it's just interesting how it's never a straight line. Talk to people, it's never a straight line. There's always all these little twists and turns and ways that they've gotten to where they are that they never thought this was where they're going to be. And it's so interesting how that happens. You get nudged, I guess, where your path is and where the thing is that you are going to make these contributions, and you may not even see that in the beginning.
You don't. And looking back, though, I said, my thesis paper in school was testing and treating hearing loss in children. Oh, and my whole focus, I think, was more at the medical route. I was actually going to I wanted to be a pediatrician, a doctor, and then once our daughter was born deaf, I kind of took time off and focused on that, changed my things more into the pharmacy, and then, anyway, life happens, and I think God has it all planned out in advance, and he just kind of, okay, well, you go down this road and this way, and but there was a reason why I pushed so hard to go to, learn the language and keep up, and why I got certified, I don't know, and why I continue to attend workshops and conferences was all just to keep up with her. But there was God's reason was there. There's more that can be done here. So we did, and now that young man is a teacher at that institution, and his adult daughters now work for me.
Oh, okay.
So it's funny how life kind of comes back around.
I know. It has a way of coming full circle, but you can't see it, until you go down that road, then suddenly things start to make sense to you. You're like, oh, okay, now I'm understanding more why I'm being led in this direction. So, how was it really, I guess, any surprises or anything as you started working more with the deaf community? Because it's not something that I guess the average person knows about unless they are, I would think have a family member or friends or working with them. Was it surprising as you started to learn more and work more with them?
I think what was surprising is how little the rest of the population knows and understands. And so a lot of what we do, in addition to providing the services, and I do ADA consulting and advocating, but we do a lot of educating. And like I said before, we educate the hearing population about the deaf community as well as the deaf community about the hearing community and knowing how to work together, because it truly is a culture. And people still view deafness as a disability as opposed to a linguistic culture, because ASL is a true language with its own grammar and syntax, and there's so many cultural nuances that go into that. So we, in the beginning, people would ask, what I do, and I'd tell them, and they say, oh, okay, that's nice. But what's your real job?
Really?
I was like, okay, yeah, what's your real job? Okay. Then say, so do you just follow this deaf person around all day?
Oh my goodness.
No, we don't. No, we don't. But and we're extremely busy. There's so much need out there.
Right.
But it's all about educating, and we get calls constantly from doctors and patients come in and like, what do I do? I've never done this before. Or how do I do this? Or why do I need to do this? And so we're constantly taking every opportunity to help, just to educate and make sure that each of them understands the process and the other's role and why it's important. But just
wow.
Another challenge, I guess, or something that surprised me is in the business world is no matter how far I've come, I still encounter people that, well, have your husband call me, even though he never worked with, he has his job, he's an investigator, he does this, he's not even in, especially, he didn't join the company until 2005, but, no, this is my company, this is my thing, even the bank, I've had my account at this bank for nearly 30 years, and years later, when I added him to the account, this used to really bother me. They put his name on top, and he's the owner of the account. I'm like, no. So now he's like, well, the biggest mistake is when we're talking to somebody, or they say, well, you have him, and they direct the attention to him, and he's like, ooh, he just goes, I had a big mistake. So yeah, it's I'm like, I get a little
oh my goodness,
I get a little strong in those areas. I don't appreciate that because and you still there's still roadblocks that women get no matter how far they come. But
wow,
you never ever allow someone else to determine your destiny.
Right. Oh my goodness. That you think some things that are kind of relics, but then they're not. Some people still have the perceptions of what they think and what they assume.
Exactly.
That it's sometimes
exactly
a little strange, and you're like, okay, what's this about? But wow, that's very interesting.
In fact, it's a cute story how we brought my husband into this, and because he, like I say, he ran the Special Investigations Unit for the state of Texas for 7 or 8 years, and he's a fraud investigator and all this. And well, we were needing a risk manager for our business. I'm including the company because I always say ours. I don't like saying mine, but it my business. But all of our staff, we're a huge team, and we're in this together. So I say for ours. And one day, our business manager and I, we were talking about this. I've interviewed quite a few people, and it's just such an esoteric field that people don't quite understand or know how to work. And we were talking one day, and I said, I just can't find the right fit here. Mm-hmm. And that's when she says, well, Belinda says, who would be perfect for this job? And I said, who's that? She said, John. I'm like, oh, no, he has his job, and this. No, he would never be he'd never be interested in this. Mm-hmm. But then I got to thinking about it. I said, you know what? And then in Texas here, we have a state holiday. It's Battle of Flowers. And so it's Friday, Battle of Flowers, just during Fiesta and whatnot. And it's a few days later, it was Battle of Flowers. So he, as a state, employee, he had the day off. So I said, let's go to lunch. So John and Belinda, our business manager, and I went to lunch. And we were talking. I said, I think we found the right fit for this position. And he goes, oh, really? I said, yeah. And I said, and he's right here in San Antonio, too. He goes, okay, it's a man. Who? Well, that's great. But he goes, you really need to have, before he said, you need to have someone with these credentials. And I said, as a matter of fact, I took your advice. He does. He has his CFE, which is Certified Fraud Examiner, and his CPP, Certified Protection Professional. I said, he's got all these credentials and this and that, and it's incredible. I said, he was right under our nose the whole time. He's like, wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. What's his name? He goes, maybe I know him. And I said, well, I think you do, in fact. And he's like, who is it? He's all puzzled. Who is it? And I said, it's you. Oh, no. He started laughing. No way. No, come on. He goes, I have a job. And I said, well, I know you do, but just hear me out. Hear me out before you say anything. And I said, this is what our needs are. This is what we need. DIS, Deaf Interpreter Service. I need someone that can do this. This is the skill set that you could bring to the table. And I listed these things. Plus the fact that you're familiar with it. You know that the community. You know the needs. And I said, and this is what first he goes, you can't afford me. And I said, don't get cocky. Okay, listen it out, hear it out. And so I went on, I said, this is what we can do for you. This is what I put together a packet for you. And this is what we will do. And I said, don't answer me now. Take the weekend and think about it. And we'll get back together on Monday and you can give me your answer.
Oh, my goodness.
He goes, okay. And people laugh. What do you mean? Don't you live together? I'm like, well, yes, we do, of course. But I said, get back with me on Monday. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to discuss it. This is business. We go home, and we keep it so separate. So this is business. Mm-hmm. You think about it over the weekend. We'll get back together on Monday, and you give me your answer. He said, okay. So that was it. We went on with our lunch and changed subject and whatever. Little by little over the weekend, he got to thinking, dang, he drives 80 miles each way to Austin every day. He works up near the Capitol. He goes, at that time, and our office is just, 2 miles from where we live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. And he voiced it kind of in the kitchen one day to himself, I could even come home for lunch if I wanted. Think, he's actually entertaining this idea. And so I said, yeah. I walked by. I said, you sure could. And I walked on. And so he thought about it. And on Monday, we get back together, the three of us, for lunch again. And he goes, you know what? Because I might take you up on that offer.
Oh, my
I said, okay, that would be great. We had a formal deal in writing. This is what it is. And I said, there's one contingency. He said, what's that? And I said, I want you to keep he's also an investigator with two different district attorneys, Del Rio district attorney and Comal district attorney. I said, I want you to keep your commission with the two DAs, and I want you to still be able to do that from time to time. He said, why? I said, because that's your passion. This is my passion. But I know you share this passion, but this is not where your expertise right now is. I mean, the risk management and fraud and prevention, all that is. But the field of interpreting and deafness, if you will. So I said, for you to still have what you were trained to do, I still want you to have that to reach, go, and do. So for quite a few years in the beginning, they'd still cases that they couldn't solve, they would contact him. He would go help with. But that would get him out of the office and kind of give him what he's doing and come back. And that actually, then we realized we can merge these two fields. So we really got into crime victims with disabilities. And so we started attending those conferences and working with. So then I started then working with a lot of law enforcement here. And I went did a 10-week class down in Atascosa County, which is about an hour south of us. And where the county judge, because of a bad situation that had happened down there with a deaf individual that was arrested wrongfully and sent to prison totally wrongfully because they didn't have an interpreter, a skilled interpreter, know what was going on. So we worked with them when his wife came to us and said, hey, this is what's happening. Can you help us? Well, our legal counsel is a deaf person, was a judge, and we provided captioning things for him on the bench for several years. And then when he left that position, we hired him as our legal counsel. So he got involved, and we helped this gentleman and got his rights given back to him, and got his life back. So they released him, realized, oh, my God, this was inaccurate and it's totally wrong. So the county judge said, you know what, how do we know? And I said, I can come and I can give classes. I can train you. I can show I can work with you. And so we did that. So she made it mandatory for 10 weeks, every single law enforcement officer in that county, every single judge and magistrate, and every attorney had better attend this. And she made it mandatory. They all had to sign in and every night. So we did I did a 10-week class, and some on some basic signs and working, how to work with a deaf individual. And if you arrest someone, when you handcuff them, you're taking their language away, their ability to talk to you away. But at the same time, you have to protect yourself. So we went through that process, and then how to handle when it's arrested, and how to get an interpreter, and how the judge has to work with them. And it was a wonderful thing. And then I call him the judge, Marion Carson, our legal counsel, who had what they call a hearing dog, which is like a seeing eye dog, but it's dog for the deaf, come and how, showed them and how that works, and if you have a deaf individual with the dog, and how, all the requirements there. So that was a great opportunity. And then we also showed them how to, not only with the deaf individual, but if they have to interview other victims with disabilities, like children and children with autism, or children who are deaf and MR, or adults who are. So we went through this whole training process for them also. And it was just amazing, such an eye-opener. And it's really cool how we can merge the two fields and still do so much good.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, did you have any idea that there are so many ways that you can do what you do, that there's so many areas that you can touch with what you're doing?
No, I didn't in the beginning. I didn't see all the opportunity, and there were challenges, of course, along the way, but we've always viewed that, each challenge we see it as an opportunity, and an opportunity to open the door for one more thing. And it seems like every time there's a challenge put before us, or someone comes to us with this problem, it sparks a new idea. And I'm constantly thinking outside the box. And I think for any other woman out there, just like I say, don't allow anyone else to determine your destiny. Think outside the box and I do all the time. And my kids are always saying, well, talking about me not being normal. You're crazy, Mom. You do it. But you know what? No one ever changed the world by being normal.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness.
You follow your heart, and doors just open. And when you see a door that's closed that needs to be open, don't be afraid to take that challenge.
Exactly.
Believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing, and open that door. Open that door, and there might be some additional challenges on the other side, but you face it. And I've lived by where there's a will, there's a way. That was always my mom's saying. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. And it's just as you're talking, like there's so many areas where what you're doing can really make such a difference. You could just see which the different areas that you're working with now that people don't even think about, because we just don't unless we need that service or we know someone who needs it. It's not anything that would occur to us. And just to say, wow, of course, that makes perfect sense that you would need this service here, you would need that there. It's just so fascinating how, once you have opened this door now, there's all these different ways that you can, assist and help people who may not ever have had that advocate there to help them, within their community and respecting them and what they need. It's just really incredible, very fascinating.
We work with a lot of large companies, and some have deaf employees, and we've had them contact us for and say, okay, I've got to be careful. Well, I've got to be careful of what we do and how we handle this, but there's friction here, and I don't know, and it's to the point where I don't know if this is going to work out. But they're initially concerned, like, I don't want to get sued, and can I let this person go? Can I fire? Well, I say, well, what's the problem? What's happening? Yeah, and they'll talk a little bit about what's going on and what their challenges are with this employee and with the other employees. And I said, you know what? It doesn't sound like you have a bad employee at all. It sounds like you have a problem with, it's a cultural issue. You have communication issues there. And I said, if I can come in and just meet with the group, and this is how it began, and sure, can I kind of come and just observe? So I just kind of sit back and I observed the interactions, and I said, this is your problem right here. And so now we do, now in addition to the ADA consulting, I do like cultural mediations too, and go into it and show each work with the groups and say, okay, this is why. Like, for example, the hearing employee says, they creep me out. They're always staring at me. This person's always staring at me. And then the deaf person, like, no one gives me any respect, and they talk to me, and they turn the back when they're trying to talk to me, and I'm struggling trying to read lips, and I can't. Well, I said, you know what? For a deaf person, their eyes are the super highway of information. That's how they're getting this information, especially when there's not an interpreter and you're trying to struggle through. So body language is very important. So it's important for them to watch, and they're not staring. It's called eye gaze. When you're talking with the deaf person, it's eye gaze, and they're just watching to see the nuances of the face and what's going on and trying to catch the interactions between two other people and follow along with lip reading, but they have to be able to see the lips. And I tell the hearing person also that when you're talking to them, make sure you want them to know about it. Make sure you turn where they can see you. So that's some just little things, but then we'll go through and explain more into the cultural aspect of why this person does this, and then to the deaf person, why the hearing person does this, and how you can assist them, and work with them for just a little bit there. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from their supervisor and said, my goodness, what a difference that made. Said, now everyone's actually taken time to work with each other, that they understood each other better, they're working together, and said productivity's been up. It's like everything has changed. Wow. She goes, I was ready to fire this person because I thought they were the problem. Right. And now, not only are they a better employee, the hearing employees are better employees, and things are getting done, and there's no friction, no, animosity or anything going on. She goes, I would have never thought that it could just be a communication. She goes, well, I knew communication because they can't hear. But I said, no, it goes even deeper. It's not just interpreting what's being said right then. It's a whole understanding of each other's culture. And it is truly a cultural issue that we need to mediate.
Exactly. And that's an excellent point to make, because, if she's assuming communication meant hearing, and speaking and whatever, but there's all these
right.
other cues that are going on at the same time. It's not just that. It goes beyond.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It goes beyond that, and it's a lot of times, as you're saying, it's just a matter of educating people that they kind of think a little differently than they're used to thinking, and not assume certain things about a person because there are so many assumptions made, and in the media, if you do hear something, I'm sure a lot of times it's just a matter of more stereotypes being put out there. If is even addressed at all. I mean, I can't even think of in popular culture where I may have seen, a deaf person in a story. I think I can only think of a few times I've seen that in a storyline in Law and Order, but I can't think of anything else.
It's actually more and more, it's become more popular. People are realizing once it became a true language, accepted, all colleges now pretty much offer it. Most all high schools offer it as a foreign language that you can take. But you'll see more, like with Marilyn back in the early days of different shows that she was in and things. Do you realize that something that actually just was brought to my attention this morning? Burger King, the mascot there, the man with the king there with the crown and everything on the commercials.
Yeah.
And we always kind of wonder, most mascots, like Ronald McDonald talks and Jack in the Box guy talks, and most of them talk, but he never did. It was kind of an odd thing. It's because he's deaf, and the real deaf man is the mascot for Burger King. And once that got out, and it's on YouTube, and I saw it this morning, like, wow, that's cool. And he's there signing, and what a great publicity thing, because it brought in hundreds of the deaf. It reaches out to deaf all across the country now, and because everyone's sharing it on YouTube and on Facebook and this and that. But then it shows a whole group of deaf coming in sign language, talking back and forth to, the king, the Burger King king. And, I said, that's great. Now you see it more. You see it in commercials, individuals who are deaf in commercials. And even USA has a commercial where, shows a member of the family is deaf and signing. So you see it more and more. Now Niles, the deaf model that's really taken the country by storm here in the last couple of months. He's on Dancing with the Stars, and he's began a couple of different foundations for helping, parents with deaf children, and as far as resources for where do you go, what do you do,
Right.
So more, and he's really out there, and making a huge name not only for himself but bringing such awareness to the deaf community.
Yeah, I do. Now you mentioned, I do remember reading an article about that. So, I think that's great to hear that little by little it's educating and getting people out there and just, having an understanding. So many times it's just a matter of people not understanding someone else who's different and kind of going on fears and anxieties and what they think, and then just kind of, breaking down those walls.
Exactly.
Definitely. Oh my goodness. So, wow, our time is going by so quickly here. Could you please share where people can find you, any websites or anything you'd like to share where they can connect with you and your company?
Sure. Our website is www.deaf-interpreter.com. So it's D as in David, EAF as in Frank, with a hyphen, INTERPRETER.com. And we have a Facebook page also, and Twitter, and they can just kind of reach out about, and all that information is on our site, so they can connect with us. And we are nationwide. They can call us anytime. Like I said, a lot of what I do is educating, and we've got hospitals across the country calling because they know I'm going to be honest and straight with them, and they say, we have this and this going on. How much do we need to do, and how much are we supposed to what? And so we work with them and say, these are the deaf individual's rights, and these are your rights. Everyone has rights, and this is how you work together to make it all happen. And you just never compromise your character, and they know that I'm not going to compromise my character or my name. So they're going to get a very honest and straight ethical answer from me.
Mhm. And where, I guess as we, in a few minutes we have remaining, where do you see the company going from here? You know, do you have a vision for the next few years as to where you'd like to see it grow?
Yes, actually, we've got a new venture that we're starting, and I really can't say too much about it, but working with some large nationwide companies and helping them on their sites to their websites and making them more accessible, and working through us, through DIS, and doing that. And our video production has really picked up. We've got 3 video production studios, so we do a lot of that also, doing different videos and training materials and things, and companies that need to offer, training materials to their new employees that have it done. If they bring in a deaf person, have it done all in sign language, or they want to get a message out to the community and put it on their website and have it done in sign language. We can do that for people, and make their websites accessible also. So there's a lot of additional things that we do out there, and we just kind of, anything that has to do with a deaf individual, we're part of. We're part of, and that includes theater and concerts. And I've had someone say, wait a minute, you're interpreting this concert. Why would a deaf person go to a concert? They can't hear it. Well, one, they can feel the vibrations and they know the music. Or there's so many different levels of deafness. There's hard of hearing, so many different levels. So they may have some hearing. So you never know. But there's a lot of deaf enjoying music.
Right.
And that sounds funny, but the beat and the rhythm to it, and they read the words, and then they see it put into sign language, and that's when they fall in love with it. Mm-hmm. A song that is interpreted into ASL is just beautiful.
Wow. This is so fascinating.
Yeah. It is, and we have so many people come up afterwards like, I don't know what you said, but it was absolutely beautiful. But they said, you know what? I understood, and we backtrack a little bit, interpret for a lot of different churches and things too. Mm-hmm. And I know I did for years in this one particular church, and they would come up later and say, you know what? I don't know sign language, but I totally understood the sermon's piece today a lot better than just listening, because it was visual.
Right.
I really connected with it.
Okay.
I'm like, that's good. We help the hearing population too. They pick up things like. Now that was very iconic. That was visual. I can connect with what he was trying to say, because sometimes it gets so technical or wordy or whatever, and it just doesn't. But when I see you put it up there in the air like that, wow, I understood it. So it's like, well, that's awesome. That's good. I'm glad you got something out of it also.
Well, it's true, because you do process information differently, when you're seeing and you're reading or hear, it's all coming at you differently, and you're processing it in different ways. So that is just so fascinating. And I think now with technology and all the different things going on, hopefully that is also opening up more opportunities for people to receive. Oh, yes.
We connect through VRI, video remote interpreting, and we can have an interpreter. We had a doctor's office way about 3 hours out in a rural community, 3 hours away from the nearest interpreter. And a new patient walks in, and they call in a panic. Oh, my gosh. And they start Googling, going on, what do we do? And they found us, and they said, can you help me? I have no clue. We didn't know this patient was deaf. What do we do? So we kind of explained, and I looked real quick, and wow, you know what? You're about 3 hours from the nearest interpreter, so obviously you can't wait for that to happen. And I said, do you have this? And as far as the ability to do video remote interpreting, and our system doesn't require a lot of additional software or anything like that, so we've invested heavily on our end to take all that off of our users. And they said, yes, I have this, and I have this. And literally within 5 minutes, we had an interpreter remotely right there with them in that room, and through the whole process. And he said, this was just amazing. That was fascinating. He goes, I never met a deaf person. I didn't know what we're supposed to do. And he goes, I didn't know if this would work or like how to even talk to him. And we just explained real quick how to walk through the process, and you speak directly to the deaf individual, look at them and talk to them, and the interpreter will do the rest, be there for the communication. And it just worked beautifully. He goes, wow, this is really cool. He goes, the fear, he goes, I was afraid, and it was preventing me from doing things. But he goes, now, he goes, that's just like anybody else. Like, yes, it's just like anybody else, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
right, because you're afraid, you're being offensive, or is this the right thing to do? And it's just understanding and opening up that communication to.
Right. One thing I'll leave you with, and your community there. Sometimes they're afraid, that everyone wants to be politically correct, and what do I say? Do I say hearing impaired? I don't want to say deaf. That's offensive. No, actually, you do want to say deaf. A deaf person is deaf. There's levels. You're either hard of hearing, if you have some residual hearing and things, or if you were raised orally, then you don't sign, and kind of against that, they're hard of hearing, or they're deaf. Mm-hmm. Never refer to anyone as hearing impaired. Now, that is truly offensive.
Really?
So, yes. So someone says, but is it deaf? I said, no, they know they're deaf. They're deaf. But there's deaf pride. And it is. There's deaf pride. So, yeah, it's okay to say deaf.
Right. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Wow. I'm glad you made that point among all the wonderful points you've made today, because it's true.
I know there's a lot of information there, but
there is, and this is really fantastic because it really opens up doors and opens up communication, and that's really the key to people understanding each other and not being afraid to reach out. So
never be afraid. Never be afraid to smile at someone, to say hi to someone, and try to communicate regardless of their culture, their background, their language, their disability.
Right.
Don't let that keep you from being who you are and keep them from being who they are, and develop that bond, develop that friendship. Or at least smile and say hi. Wave your hand, say hi. Right. It's okay. It's okay.
At the very least. Nothing wrong with
At
that.
the very least, yes. Exactly.
Well, Marilyn, this has just been a fantastic conversation. It's just, I've learned so much, and I'm sure the listeners, will have as well, and those who are involved in similar type of work or who really want to go out there and make a difference and can understand it can be done. They can do that. They can build a business while they do that. It's not something that is mutually exclusive. You can make a difference and you can build a business doing that. So I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Deborah.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, I'm sure that you have enjoyed this show today, so please be sure to share it with your social media and blogs, and, reach out and visit Marilyn's site and check out more information if it's something you're interested in getting involved in, or you have a similar type of business. That you want to go out there and do some really good things while you build your business, then definitely this is something for you to learn from, and please make sure that you share that with others. So once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye now.